You're this perp back with another video, and I finally got the pleasure of watching Terrifier 2 in theaters. Whew, where do I even begin with this movie? First off, let's talk about just Terrifier as a whole real fast, and I'll get into just my overall thoughts on the movie. I won't go into crazy spoilers, but I have to talk about a few things to kind of, you know, dissect everything, or digest is a really bad word, especially after watching this movie. It's crazy, bro. So Terrifier was a movie that came out, was it back in like 2016 or 2018? 2016, and it was just a super low budget horror movie, and it just hit like wildfire amongst horror fans. And it even gets to the point where people are asking the question, is Art the Clown like a new horror icon? And I definitely think with this movie and just what it does with the lore and stuff, it's very fascinating. I think there's a conversation to be had with that being said. So just to kind of give you a little backstory, getting into this actual movie, we have a very strong cast of characters this time around, and that seemed to be one of the bigger gripes of the first one, where you really didn't feel attached to none of the original characters. You never really felt anything for them. You're just going to watch them get brutally murdered. Our main character, Sienna, that's played by Lauren Lavera. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, because she is phenomenal in this. When I kept seeing like people talk about it, like, she is definitely a huge standout and really helps carry this film alongside Art as well, because Art in this has some of the gruesomest deaths, or not deaths but kills, that I've ever seen. There's even scenes in here that I think top the hacksaw scene. If you know, you know. But what I like about this, with this movie being like 2 hours and 18 minutes, which is absurd for a slasher movie, you just got all these dope characters this time around. And I like this character, Sienna, and how she is kind of into cosplaying, or just making costumes. Her father used to be into like making these characters, and she wanted to pretty much for Halloween be this character that her father drew. And man, this was a really dope costume that she ended up kind of making. And on the other side of things, she has her brother Jonathan, which he's a really interesting character in this as well, because usually kid actors are kind of annoying, but he is an interesting character where he wants to dress up as Art the Clown. He has kind of an obsession. Well, the whole family kind of has an obsession of like horror movies, which is really dope. And they kind of show that earlier on, where they're all kind of really desensitized, but something about Jonathan is just, they feel like something's off about him, and he has to go through things at school with certain things, what happens with this like dead animal. Not going to go too far into that, but it's an interesting kind of thing that they do within the film. I like how this film opens, though. I'm gonna go back to the characters very shortly, but I gotta talk about Art real quick, because I really like in the beginning, we see what happens with Art and what happens to him. Obviously, they're kind of alluding to something supernatural, and that is very much the case in this movie. But what I like about Art is that he is still like, he tries to act like a normal person, even to the point where he's dry cleaning his own like suit. You know what I'm saying? But while he's doing that, we get introduced to just, I guess, a supernatural being that kind of looks like a kid version, a female kid version of Art the Clown. Very scary, very frightening, even just more terrifying than Art itself. But that's where I'm seeing the connection. And they already confirmed that there's going to be a third one, so they're probably going to go dive a little bit more into the supernatural and where art comes from, because they really don't. You can kind of put things together in your head better than the first one, but I like that they're still kind of keeping it a mystery. And they always reference the first one, like with Victoria and stuff, and I'm not going to spoil that. Just keep watching the movie, because there's some interesting things that they're going to do with this third movie. But going back to the characters, Sienna pretty much is getting ready for this like Halloween party, and obviously, she wants to wear her whole suit. She has this weird dream sequence though during the movie that ends up messing up one of which ends up leading her costume to get messed up. So she has to go to the costume shop to get some cheap ones, because the one that she made was really dope. It was homemade, but there's this interesting like Nightmare on Elm Street thing about that whole entire dream sequence that's really dope. But what you get to find out throughout this film, that their father has a connection to Art that goes way back. So Art's been here, and it has something to do with that little girl that, Art talks to, but only specific people can see it. Not everybody can see it. Jonathan's able to see it. Sienna's able to see it. So it's really interesting how they kind of keep you in the dark with certain things, but keep you entertained throughout. The kills are just absolutely brutal. Like I said, the kills, I think, are a huge highlight. I don't think he really scaled nothing down. This is completely unrated and uncut and unfiltered, and I love that about this movie. And it's crazy watching this in an actual theater. That experience kind of tripped me out, because you don't normally see these types of movies being put on a big silver screen like that. So this movie is pretty much a big deal, you know what I'm saying, just for horror in general. And I hope that opens the door up for more of these types of movies to be able to be shown, not just on streaming and on a big screen, so a lot of people can go see this. The music is also really dope. I found it to be very 80-esque. I definitely would want to listen to the soundtrack. I think the music was done by, I think it was Paul Wiley. I think that's what his name was, but fantastic. It just gave you that John Carpenter feel. It made you feel like you were watching an old 80s movie. The budget is way higher this time around, and I think there's a lot to enjoy about this movie as a whole, and just how I like, for the length of it, you would think there would be a lot of dead space or things that you can cut. I wouldn't cut nothing from this movie, to be honest, because when something's going on with Sienna's character, Art's over here killing somebody, and they make these kill scenes so long and visceral, so you could really feel it, and it's just brutal, man. And I think this is a much needed upgrade or step up from the original movie, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the third movie and what they could possibly do with a budget with that, because the first film was like $35K. This is probably way more than that, because it still had that grip to it. I don't want them to lose that. Don't go too crazy with it. Still kind of have it look kind of gritty. I really like that, and I really like Art the Clown just as a character. Just the way he's able to emote without just saying anything. It's just brilliant, man. Fantastic. All the way around. And if you get a chance to watch this in theaters, definitely go check this out. I would recommend it. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's still very over-the-top gore, but I think with this, I feel like people can have a little bit more enjoyment, just because there's more of a story with this one, and it's not just Art just going around killing people. Even though I like that about the first one, there's more to kind of dig into with this film. From Sienna, the main character, I think that's going to be a lot of people's standout character. She did an amazing job. Jonathan also is a good supporting role. and kind of is the reason why everything kind of goes down, why it goes down. Art, phenomenal. His little helper, whatever you want to call her, really effective. The glowing yellow eyes, terrifying. It's gonna be like stuck in my brain forever. But also, I want to highlight the mom. The mom is definitely one of the MVP. Well, I say is another one that I kind of liked, and it's sad to see what happens to her in this. That's the only like kind of hint I can give you. But man, I tell you, are in for a treat. Definitely let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments below. And I can't wait to see Terrifier 3 in theaters. Hopefully they put it in more theaters, because I think watching this theatrically was really dope. To see this with a crowd and just to hear people's reactions to certain scenes and everybody just having fun, I would really like to do that again. But until next time, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.